Well, good morning. Hope you're understanding some of the content I'm covering. I've had a bug for about a month and a half. My kids had the flu about 3-4 weeks ago, and I've been fighting it off. Then they caught another bug, which they ran a fever, a little light fever, but mainly it made them tired, which was kind of great because they didn't do a whole lot or bug me for about 3 days. Sounds horrible, doesn't it? But now I have it, and all I want to do is take a nap. That's all I want to do. I am so tired. Thankfully, I don't ever get sick, but boy, I get tired when I fight it off, which I guess is sick. So this is 70 and 71. It says identify the power function. What we do is we do some near math. We think x times x is x. Oh, sorry. There's an x here. If I was to FOIL, I'd have an x squared, then I'd have another x. So x times x squared times x is x to the fourth. That's my power function. What this tells me is how it behaves. It tells me the end behavior. The end behavior, because this is x to the fourth, is to start high and end high. So I know something about the graph already. Talk about my zeros. I use the cover-up technique. I literally replace this with a zero. The first one says x is 0. It has a multiplicity of 1 because the power is 1. If I cover up everything but here, I have a 2. 0 is x minus 2. So I have x equals 2. Its multiplicity is that exponent. And that's important. And then I have 0 right here at negative 1 with a multiplicity of 1. This will be a cross, this will be a touch, and this will be a cross. I also know that this thing has at most 5 turning points because it's x to the fifth. Sorry, it's x to the fourth. At most 5 turning points. It probably won't have 5, but that's the most it can have. So I have a 0 here, I have a 0 at 2, and I have a 0 at negative 1. I also know that I'm going to start high and I'm going to end high. All right. This is a crossing. I'm going to cross through this thing. This is a touch. 1 is a cross. This is also a cross. It's going to come down and go up through here. And this is a touch, so I'm going to hit it twice. I'm going to touch it and bounce right back off. And I know this is the general direction because I have to start high and end high. Now, there's only a couple things I need to know. I'd like to know what happens after negative 1. So when I make my little table, I'm going to plug in a negative 2. I would also like to know what happens here at 1, how high this thing goes. So I'll plug in a 1. And I'd like to know what happens after this touch. So I'll plug in a 3. That's all I'm going to do. If I plug in a negative 2, and I'm going to use the storage feature, because I am tired. Oops, I can't even use a calculator right now. If I plug in a negative 2, I get a 32 returned to me. So this thing immediately shoots straight up like it should. What happens if I plug in a 1? Oops. If I plug in a 1, I get a 2 back. So it doesn't rise too high. It just hits 2, and then it's going to come back down to here. And if I plug in a 3, I probably get a 12. Yeah, I got something big back. So it immediately just shoots right off. A lot of times your x to the fourths look like w's. And that looks like a w. All right, 71. The power function here would be 5 times x times another x from this guy. And this guy is going to generate an x cubed. So I'm going to have, looks like 5x to the fifth. That's kind of cool because 5x to the fifth is going to start low and end high. It's going to look something like that overall, start low, end high. Talk about my zeros. If I use the cover-up property or the zero product property or the middle finger property, whatever you want to call it, I have a 0 at 1. It has a multiplicity of 1, which means it's going to cross the x-axis. I have a 0 at 2, also has a multiplicity of 1, which means it crosses. It's a cross, it's a cross. And I have a 0 at 3, which is an odd power, which multiplicity is 3, which is also a cross. Every one of these zeros is a crossing. One, two, three. This thing is going to start low and end high. I don't really need to plug a whole lot of stuff in here. I'm a little curious what happens in some negative numbers, like I'm going to plug in a -1. I'd like to know the y-intercept, so I'll plug in a 0. There may not even be a y-intercept, it might be something really small. And I'd like to know what happens at 4. I'm probably smart enough right now to plug in a 0. That's going to be -1. That's going to be -2. That makes 2. Times 5 is 10, so I'm already pretty big. And a -3 cubed is going to be -27. So when I plug in a 0, I actually get -270. There is no reason to even worry about plugging in a -1. This thing is starting low like it's supposed to. So it's going to start low. This is a crossing. It's going to immediately turn to hit this guy. And because it's also a crossing here, it's going to immediately turn. And I'm willing to bet when I plug in a 4, I get something just gigantic. Because it's going to shoot straight up. It's that. Anyways, let's see what happens. Sorry, I'm not my usual funny self. I'm just too blasted tired to be funny. I got a 30. So as is expected, the thing just basically shoots straight up. Ta-da! Let's see if I can finish this little group. We're supposed to write the polynomial of least degree in standard form. So that's going to be the challenge on this one. That has rational coefficients, a leading coefficient as indicated, and the given zeros. So you're supposed to begin this by setting up factored form. And don't need to forget about what we call the conjugate pair theorem. Then you're going to do a whole lot of distributing. So this one would be get started. F of x is, and we're using this idea of a times x minus p times x minus q times x minus z, dot, 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 whatever. All right. A -2, because that's what a is. If I take away a -3, I get +3. If I take away 1, I'm just x minus 1. If I take away 6, I'm x minus 6. And you're going to have to FOIL a lot. Of course, you do that with pairs. I'm going to work with these guys first, and then I'll worry about this thing. If I FOIL out x minus 1 times x minus 6, I'd have an x squared. I'd take away an x, I'd take away 6 more. So minus 7x plus 6. Now I've got to use not the FOIL technique, the double distributive property. I'll worry about that -2 at a later point in time. If I x everything, I'll have x cubed minus 7x squared plus 6x. Then I'm going to 3 everything. Oh, I need that -2 there. I kind of screwed up. I'll just put it on the back of the bus. If I 3 everything, I'd have a 3x squared. No, I need that -2 there. And minus 21x, and then plus 18. So let me combine like terms. There's only one x cubed. Looks like there's minus 4x squared. If I combine my x's, I think there's minus 15 of them. And what's left? That 18. And then I multiply everything by -2. So it's -2x cubed plus 8x squared plus 30x plus 36. All right, that was 67, which was the easiest of these 3 problems. On to 68. It tells me that a is 2, f of x is twice x minus 3 times x minus 4. By the way, if this is a 0, its conjugate 4 minus I is also a 0. Now, when I take away both of these terms, their signs are going to change. Whenever you enter parentheses, signs change. I don't care what you are, what you look like. If you're a smiley face, you become a frowny face. Actually, you just become a negative smiley face. But you change signs. So minus 4 minus I is the first one. And when I do this one, I'm going to have minus 4 plus I. Minus 4 plus I. All right. I'm going to FOIL this thing out, and then I'm going to FOIL this, and I'm going to triple distribute that thing out. This one's easy. I feel like starting here. X squared, man, I'm wore out. Minus 4x minus 3x is minus 7x plus 12. Now I'm going to work with this thing. This thing's not going to be that bad after you get done with it. A lot of things cancel. So if I x everything, I'd have x squared minus 4x plus xi, and I negative 4 everything, minus 4x plus 16 minus 4i, and then I negative I everything. So minus xi again, which I didn't have that parentheses there, plus 4i, and then minus I squared. And then I clean it up. This is not necessarily something that's hard. It's what we would call tedious. Some kids say it's long. It's really not. There's only one x squared. There's going to be a lot of cancellations, thankfully. There's a plus xi and a minus xi. There's a plus 4i and a minus 4i. This is 1. And so now I can combine terms. I have a negative 8x plus 17. It wasn't so bad. Now you get to invoke the triple distributive property, and then you get to double everything when everything's said and done. So I'll just keep that 2 there. I have an x to the 4th minus an 8x cubed plus 17x squared. Then I negative 7x everything. Minus 7x cubed plus 56x squared. And negative 7 times 17 is going to be negative 119, I think. Negative 70 and 49, yeah. So minus 119. Then I 12 everything. So plus 12x squared. Minus 96x. 12 times 17 would be 120 and 84, 204, I think. I gotta stare at that for a second. That'd be 70, 84. Yeah, 204. So plus 204. And time to go through and clean that up, and then I can double everything. I have an x to the 4th, so I'm going to throw that out the window. I have a negative 8x cubed and a negative 7x cubed. That should be negative 15x cubed. I have 1, 2, 3 things with an x squared on them. I got 17 and 12, which makes 29, and then I got 56, which makes 85. So plus 85x squared. Then I got all these big stinking numbers. Oh, sorry, I got x's, don't I? Amazingly, that's my x, minus 96x. I don't know why, but I feel like I missed something. But I didn't, so cool. Minus 96x. And then I got the negative 119 and the 204. So that's going to be, what, 81, 85. Seems legit. Plus 85. And finally, the last step on this thing. Double everything. Because there's a 2 out front. 85 times 2 should be 170. That would be 100 and what? 92. And then we got 170. Assuming I did everything right. And the last one. And I know I'm going to stop doing your homework for the day. Until maybe, 2:45 or something. This one is going to be just ugly. If 4 plus 2i is a 0, 4 minus 2i is a 0. If 1 plus a root of 7 is 0, 1 minus a root of 7 is 0. So we're going to have to write out 5 factors. That's why it says write small. What's the a value? Negative 3. F of x is negative 3 times x minus 3. Here I got to do this conjugate idea and change signs when you enter. Negative 4 minus 2i, negative 4 plus 2i, negative 1 minus root 7, x minus 1 minus root 7, and then x minus 1 plus root 7. It's time to hit it. So I'm going to work with this, and I'm going to work with that, and I'm going to put them together, and then I'm going to multiply by that. It's going to take a minute. There is no shortcut to this, by the way. So that's going to create x squared minus 4x plus 2ix. You do enough of these, there is a shortcut. I just don't want to show it. I've tried to teach it in the past, and it was just a disaster. So just do the math. Minus 4x plus 16. Where am I at? Minus 4i squared. Sorry, minus 8i. Now I'm at the negative 2i, so minus 2ix plus 8i minus 4i squared, which would be plus 4. 3 by 3. Should have 9 terms. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I did a 3, something with 3, which is called a trinomial, times another trinomial. I should have 9 terms when I'm done. Of course, I'll condense them. So I was counting. That's what I was doing. Because as tired as I am, I could miss something. So now I'm working over on this guy. I'm xing everything. X squared minus x plus x root 7. Then I have the negative 1, so minus an x plus a 1 minus a root of 7. 3 more to go. Minus a root of 7x plus a root of 7, and then minus a 7. Now I get to clean up these ugly things, and then I get to multiply them together, and then I get to multiply by x minus 3, and then I get to multiply by negative 3. It's not a whole lot of fun, is it? Alright, so cleaning up this set of parentheses, I have an x squared. Throw that out the window, I don't want to see it again. I have a negative 8x. I have this plus 2ix and this minus 2ix, they cancel. I have a negative 8i and a plus 8i, they cancel. And I also have 16 plus 4, which is 20. So that set condensed down to 3 terms, which is what this one will do too. I have an x squared. I have a negative x, another negative x. So it looks like I have minus 2x. I'm glad it's a small number. Gone, gone. I have a x root of 7 here, and a negative root of 7x, they cancel. I have a plus root of 7 and a minus root of 7, they cancel. And then I have this positive 1 and this negative 7. So that's minus 6. And there's more. I got to multiply these two trinomials together, which will give me something that will probably go down to 4 terms because it's going to be x to the 4th leading out. Then I get to multiply that thing by x minus 3, and then I get to negative 3 at all. So I'm not even half done. That's why it says write small. So now I'm x squaring everything. That's x to the 4th minus 2x cubed minus 6x squared. Now I'm going to negative 8x everything. Minus 8x cubed plus 16x squared where am I at? Minus 16x. Now I'm going to plus 20 everything, plus 20x squared minus 40x minus 120. And then I get to play the cleanup game. And there's probably a good 80% chance I made a mistake somewhere. Very few people can do these things correctly, especially if you're going to do 3 of them in a row. And I would love to tell you that I'm going to double check everything, but I'm not going to. I could care less. Those are my x cubes. Looks like there's minus 10 of them. Looking at my x squareds, I see 30 of them. Now I'm looking at my x's. I see minus 56 of them. And then I have this constant negative 120. Oh, so that thing had 5 terms and everything was said and done. Oh, now I get to multiply everything by x minus 3. So if I x everything, x to the 5th minus 10x to the 4th plus 30x cubed minus 56x squared minus 120x. And then I get to multiply everything by negative 3. Minus 3x to the 4th plus 30x cubed minus 90x squared plus 168. I get that 56x, and then plus 360. Whew. Clean up, and then one more step. All right, so I've got this x to the 5th here. Now I'm worried about my x to the 4th. There's 2 of them, minus 13 of them. Gone, gone. Now I'm looking at my x squared, x cubes. There's 2 of them. I have 30 and 30. That's cool. That's 60. Yeah. Plus 60x cubed. Gone, gone. X squareds, I have a negative 56 and negative 90. That's minus 146 of them. Gone, gone. X's, I've got a negative 120 and a positive 168, so that's plus 48x. And then finally plus 360. And I'm almost done. I know that's probably impossible to read, isn't it? It's still probably impossible to read. It's pretty bad. Next step, multiply everything by a negative 3. Negative 3x to the 5th plus 39x to the 4th minus 180x cubed. Oh, man. Be 450 take away 12. So plus 438x squared. What is that number? 48? That'd be 150 take away 6. So minus 144x. I ran out of room here, but minus 1080. And I'm done for the day on your homework. At least I'm done for this morning. So that took a minute. Those should be the longest and hardest problems on this homework assignment. Should be. I don't know. Some of that stuff in 5-7 takes a while.